It's part 2 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. It's LA Chargers versus the Carolina Panthers, which means start all your Chargers. Start them all, start everyone. Yeah, I mean, should be pretty robust day if the Saints were able to drop almost 50. What can Jim Harbaugh do?
Right, that's what we're looking for, Cease. The first challenge, the first micro challenge, of course, the macro challenge for Dave Canales is getting this franchise turned around with Dave Tepper at the helm of the organization. The micro challenge here is getting this team to respond emotionally, getting this team to respond in terms of intensity after they had very little of that in the Superdome. And speaking of intensity, Cease, one of the things we know is that a Jim Harbaugh team is going to test you physically. That's the calling card. You better be ready for a war in the trenches. And because of that, here we are in fantasy football, week 2. One of the burning issues of week 2 is, are you starting J.K. Dobbins over? And there's any number of running backs that you drafted ahead of him that you thought, oh, I'll take a flyer on J.K. Dobbins. But because of the game script, like you said, Cease, you expect the Chargers to be able to establish it. And even Gus Edwards is a what the heck flex here if he gets those goal line carries. And then in the passing game, it was, well, as long as the Chargers can control the game like they did against the Raiders, like they should against the Panthers, it's not very much for Justin Herbert, but there's enough there to consider Ladd McConkey as a wide receiver 3 flex. We'll see what Joshua Palmer does to show if there's some hope there for games where they do have to pass more. That should not be this game unless we see a massive turnaround for this Panthers offense.
Yeah, and a massive turnaround have to be somehow through Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Somehow. And then I think even when Jonathan Brooks is back, like, does that even help?
I mean,
Or is
yeah.
this just out and out disaster? I do have Adam Thielen and Fessel OG as like a 6th receiver.
Right.
He won't sniff the starting lineup,
Right.
you know, as anything. And we play in super flex, multiple flex. Like, nah, just not going to.
No, it can't really get worse, but it doesn't mean it has to get better. And you're wondering whether, again, is this just an organization-wide thing that unless there's a massive change at the top in terms of culture, that this organization is going to continue to be like this. At least they still have their first-round pick, probably taking the replacement for Bryce Young. We did see Miles Sanders get more work than expected. That's great. So now it's a 2-headed backfield. When Brooks returns, it's a 3-headed backfield. And, yeah, there's not much there. Again, no one in the passing game. Deontay Johnson's going to save the passing. Well, I mean, in hindsight, again, think about it, Cease. You think about Deontay Johnson and the influence he can have over a team's outcome, and then everything that's around the Panthers. Yeah, Deontay Johnson wasn't going to save this offense. He's not going to save your fantasy team, at least not yet.
Not just yet. I'm definitely not going to make a joke about this because it can get worse with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I don't even like talking about Deshaun Watson for multiple reasons, let alone latest allegations. So,
right.
Yeah, Cleveland, Jacksonville up next, and Cleveland side dealing with more trouble with Deshaun Watson.
And Cease, you can comment on this as a member of the NFL media for a long time. What do you think it means that we're starting to see specific terms of Deshaun Watson's contract out in the media?
They're getting ready to do something.
Yeah. Jameis Winston, everybody, in your Superflex leagues. And maybe it was Dallas. Maybe it was that the Browns didn't have their top 2 tackles. It doesn't sound like Wills is going to be ready for this week, though. Jacksonville, they have some pretty fearsome edge rushers. Trevon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen. So love seeing that tribute to the matrilineal part of the family tree. Is this Watson's last stand, or is this one of those things that's going to accelerate it? Very possibly. Jacksonville defense. You're probably going to look at Jerome Ford as a flex. Garbage time, not nutritious, but counts all the same for your fantasy team. Maybe Jordan Akins as a desperation tight end. Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy. No, I don't think so. I just think we have to assume until we see proof that Deshaun Watson has something to build on, something to generate positive momentum. Now we're looking at this 3rd season with the Browns, and it's been this pretty much the same throughout. And see, when we switch over to the other side for Jacksonville, after here's a story we heard before. Jacksonville outplayed a team and lost. So for Jacksonville, there's some urgency, maybe not just to win this one, but to look like a good team, feel like a good team, and follow through.
Well, like we talked about on the waiver show, some Tank coming, and Travis coming, And then with Trevor, lots of T's. Just a little better play, put your team over the top. Like that's the thing with Trevor Lawrence. Skill guys are there, Bloom, but they were
Right.
somewhat disappointing outside of those running backs in week 1.
Yeah, you have Jim Schwartz's defense, and you wonder on the Brown side if they make a statement and say, well, we still get to decide the fate of this team. It's not all about Deshaun Watson. But Jacksonville has a new era dawning in their passing game with Brian Thomas Jr. Should be in your lineup as a wide receiver 3 flex. Looking fantastic. And then maybe not necessarily Gabe Davis in your lineup, but Gabe Davis keeping you from putting Evan Ingram. Well, I don't know if you really have another tight end option, or Christian Kirk. And that's what we're going to see is if this new distribution of the pass offense sticks in week 2. And now what do we really have in Kirk and Ingram? What do we really have even in Trevor Lawrence? Because like you said, Cease, if they can establish the run, if they can open up a lead here, we're going to watch that ETN Bigsby split. They're even, basically, as far as I'm concerned. They're both flex plays, maybe running back 2 plays because of the matchup. And obviously, there's some important information coming out of here this game because of the positive game script and because Bigsby was the better running back last week and ETN fumbled at the goal line. So when they get to the goal line, we're going to be real interested whose number they call.
Yeah, real interested in the next game up here on part 2, the week 2 preview. It's Raiders versus Ravens. And when you give a pissed off Baltimore, sorry, Joe, 10 days to get ready for Gardner Minshew, I don't know how good I feel about Devontae Adams or Zamir White or anybody you would be considering. We'll continue to watch Brock Bowers' development here, but it's the Raiders on the road against a Ravens team that should be pretty fired up.
Yeah, the Ravens are going to be fired up, have some extra rest coming off of that Thursday night game. Brock Bowers is the one guy you can trust in this passing game. We saw him looking good, no sign of the foot injury that limited him in the preseason, and they're using him creatively, and they're using him a lot. But then you have Jacoby Myers, who's still a very good player. What a great undrafted free agent story there. Devontae Adams, even Trey Tucker with the deep game. So when you have Gardner Minshew, it's not as anemic as it would be as if it was Aiden O'Connell, but it's still not a passing game that you expect to be at its ceiling or creating a lot of overachievers, except for maybe, again, Brock Bowers. Then you have the hot hand backfield, and it was Alexander Madison last week. I don't know why we would expect anything but Alexander Madison this week, especially in an offense that probably will be playing from behind. You know, Zamir White, the one good run he had last week, he fumbled. Sounds like Audric Estime on IR. And I just think that with the Raiders, I mean, they're in a holding pattern. At least they're going with the plan of keep building pieces around the eventual quarterback you get, but they don't have the quarterback. They're on the road against a tough defense, and it's probably going to be a long afternoon.
I love John Harbaugh. I love him. But when he says Derrick Henry's not going to get 30 carries, I go, well, not 30, coach.
29?
Can he get like 20? Can he approach that? Can we get a little more? I mean, Lamar is awesome, and Lamar is super dangerous as a runner, and Lamar's got weapons to go to, and Isaiah Likely's in my lineup this week. Like, okay, yeah, but can it get a little bit more King Henry or no? I guess we're fixing to find out.
Yeah, he's in your lineup. I mean, this is a King Henry game, and he's always been game script dependent, even in his best years. But it's the ceiling. It's that maybe not 30 carry cease, but 30 fantasy points. I could see that.
Yeah.
What we're going to watch here for the Ravens is getting the offensive line issues worked out against Max Crosby and company, because they are looking for the best combination. They're looking multiple new starters. Get this thing figured out. I know that one of the guard positions, they have to make some adjustments. So it's still a work in progress. Maybe not a true ceiling game here, but you're playing Zay Flowers, at least as wide receiver 3 flex. You're playing both tight ends. That's easy. And again, a lot of good hindsight analysis out there that the Chiefs have always taken away Mark Andrews, and they did a good job taking away Mark Andrews, which should show you that Mark Andrews still has game. Okay, so you play Andrews, but that also showed you that when Andrews taken away, Likely is going to be a main target. Tons of trust from Lamar Jackson. And yeah, this is going to be a better game for the Ravens. Just how much better depends on the offensive line.
Yeah, it depends on what the O-line can do. Battle in the NFC West is our 4th game here in part 2, the week 2 preview. LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals. No Puka. So everyone's going to be looking at, is it DeMarcus? A little Jordan Whittington, right? And then tons and tons and tons of Cooper Cup.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's going to be Cup, and we saw the Cardinals put some extra resources on Dalton Kincaid last week. So, well, I'm not saying bench Cup, but I would expect them to do everything they can to force Matthew Stafford. Well, to show us, is it going to be DeMarcus Robinson, who's going to be in a very similar role? I don't think his role is going to change, but maybe his place in the pecking order for targets, or maybe it is Tyler Johnson, former University of Minnesota standout, who had a nice game in relief of Nakua, and he's probably going to slot into Nakua's position, or maybe it's Jordan Whittington and Sean McVay. So would it be a shock if Whittington played like 60, 70% of the snaps and touched the ball 8, 9 times, including at the goal line, where he actually got the ball last week and scored, but it was wiped off the board by penalty? So I think we're looking at Robinson and Tyler Johnson as what the heck flexes, maybe even Whittington as a what the heck flex in deeper leagues, but certainly Whittington is someone in deeper leagues that you're picking up and looking to see. Tyler Johnson was the hot pickup. A lot of leagues, Demarcus Robinson was already drafted, but maybe we're going to look back and say it should have been Jordan Whittington. And then we're going to watch Kyron Williams, and we're going to see a ton of Kyron Williams. And maybe that's the case here, because remember, this offensive line is decimated. Okay. Rams, you got 7 players on IR return already. You're only allowed to have 8. That's it. See, that was one of those caps they put in, like, well, no one's ever going to have 8. Well, how about in week 2, you have 7? And then a lot of offensive line injuries. They still are missing Alaric Jackson, one of their tackles. So is it a lot of Kyron Williams? Is this maybe when we see Blake Corum do more, or Ronnie Rivers going to play ahead of him? Both of these teams, Cease, I think, go into week 2 with a lot more questions than answers on offense.
Yeah, a lot of questions there. And questions on Arizona is just, can you throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. more? I mean, I know you can. The answer is yes, but will that be a mandate, absolute edict for Kyler Murray this week? Hell, it should be. A little more Trey McBride would help there as well. And we'll see that backfield with James Conner, of course. But the Cardinals have questions too. And going up against the Rams, we'll see if we get answers.
Cease, I want to ask you again. I want to go from your experience covering an NFL team for so long. And Kyler, as we said, this year, Kyler's saying a lot more to the media, being a lot more open and candid. So when he says, when asked about Marvin Harrison, that's not my job to throw the ball to him. That's Drew Petzing's job. What do you unpack there?
Yeah, what do I unpack is like, okay, they're not on the same page.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think, and maybe is Kyler Murray criticizing Petzing more than Harrison? Is Murray saying, hey,
yes,
Drew Petzing needs to put some plays in to get him started? Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. also said he was thinking too much. His speed, his ability to separate looked very ordinary. Now, the good news is, even though he didn't go to the combine, we have tons of data, on-field data from his college games at Ohio State to show that that's not him. Okay, so some of it's Harrison, some of it's Petzing, and then we'll see about Kyler Murray, but he lost Jonah Williams, and we saw when Jonah Williams went out last week, he's on IR, another offensive line injury. That was when things got even more tightened up against this horizontal pass offense at this point. So it's okay to bench Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. This is a classic. I need to come up with a term for this one, Cease. That there's a time you put a player on your bench and you hope they go off on your bench. That's what you're hoping for. Okay, is he has a 100-yard touchdown, 2-touchdown game on your bench, and James Conner's still in, kind of like Kyron Williams on the other side. James Conner maybe can get the offense going, although it wasn't a very efficient running game last week. He scored. He also had some work in the passing game. It's Greg George in PPR leagues, especially as a wide receiver 3 flex, who's probably going to still get a lot of targets. And of course, Trey McBride. But this is probably going to be a very futile, frustrating offensive game for both of these teams whose offenses are getting worse, not better.
Yeah, worse, not better. And that leads us directly into our next game. 4 games down, 4 games to go. It is the audible Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, part 2 of the week 2 preview here. And it's Steelers and it's Broncos. Yeah, Justin Fields at quarterback. That actually is much better for Pittsburgh than if Russell Wilson's at quarterback. And not just because it's the Broncos and Russell Wilson. And oh my God, in the locker room yesterday, did I get sick of reporters asking, well, you going to talk to Russell if you see him? What are guys going to? No, I hate him. Of course they're going to say yes. and then they're probably going to avoid him at all costs. But anyway, Steelers side, Broncos can't stop the run again, regardless of Malcolm Roach and John Franklin Myers. So Fields as a runner, yes. Najee as a runner, yes. Throwing the ball, who the hell knows? It's Justin Fields, right? But if you want to keep this thing ugly, 9-3,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
This is not the fantasy game you're looking for.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin, no problem with winning ugly in this one. And the Russell Wilson revenge tour, Seattle, Denver, didn't quite work out here. But Justin Fields, I mean, I'll say this. Justin Fields had 335 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns against Denver last year. Huh? How did that happen? Well,
And they lost.
And they lost. But Denver made some switches during the game, I think. And it makes sense, right? Going from man to zone. I mean, why would you play anything but zone against Justin Fields? It defends the run and the pass at the same time, basically, the threats that he offered. But still, it wouldn't surprise me as the Steelers should control this game for Justin Fields to maybe break free on a few runs. And certainly he's a quarterback 2 super flex, and depending on your other quarterback, maybe he's your starter. He's not a high ceiling play, but he's surprisingly high floor play. We may see more Jalen Warren. I don't want to play any Steelers running back, even though Najee Harris got 20 carries last week. You are going to see George Pickens against Patrick Surtain. I mean, I'm okay with playing Pickens. It only takes one pass for him to make your day, but also the Steelers don't need to press the issue to win this game. Maybe Freiermuth with his new contract. Again, ugly offense. The other thing I want to say, Cease, is painful memories. Steelers going to Denver. Painful memories in playoffs, except when they went in and won the AFC Championship game and then won the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. So revisiting some memories here for the Steelers, and Denver trying to make some happy memories with Bo Nix.
Yeah, some new Bo Nix memories and trying to get something out of the ground game. The emphasis this entire week has been, we got to run the ball better. We got to run the ball better. We got to run the ball better. Javonte Williams, you're up first. If you fail in that, and this is a way out, so please don't anyone be like, you said Blake Watson to do something. It's coming if Javonte doesn't get it done. Jaleel McLaughlin's going to get an opportunity because last week he was the 1A. There's 1A. It's a committee, everybody. And Jaleel, you got to keep your feet. If he does that and breaks one, it only takes one. Yeah, but you have to actually break a shoestring tackle, Jaleel, something that he just hasn't been able to do. So Javonte and Jaleel, we held on to him in the waiver show, Bloom. Now they get a chance because Estime's down on IR with an ankle thing. Don't jump over people. And then we'll see. Actually, Tyler Beatty might get an opportunity before Blake Watson, but just put a pin in that. That's super deep, and that'd mean the Broncos offense would have to be working, and it's not working.
No.
And if you don't run the ball against this defense, I asked Joe Lombardi last week, like, hey, you can't really go against Seattle's edges and corner. Does that work the middle of the field? Greg Dulcich didn't get a target to the fourth quarter.
Right.
Because Lombardi told me, we just got to play football. I was like, nah. You don't have to tell me your game plan, but you should have a plan on going to the middle. Against the Steelers, where the hell do you go?
Yeah,
with that pressure that's going to be everywhere on a rookie quarterback.
Right. And Dulcich ran a ton of routes, like 30-some routes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that he wasn't deployed in the right way. But some of this is poor Bo Nix. And you like that Sean Payton is coming to the defense of his quarterback and saying we have to do more for him. But yeah, Cease, if you go into a game against the Steelers and you say, well, we have to establish the run against the Steelers defense, good luck. And we're going to see a lot of horizontal passing. Cortland Sutton probably matched up with Joey Porter, budding shutdown corner. And again, there's nobody you want to play here. And see, again, to emphasize what you said, if you want to know what the state of the Broncos offense is right now, we're talking about Blake Watson and Tyler Beatty. Okay. Again, this is like Daniel Jones is still our starter. We might be looking at our practice squad or undrafted free agent running backs to put some sort of boost to our offense. That ain't good.
Yeah. We'll see. What's good and potentially good is Cincinnati and Kansas City up next. That could be a scorcher, but the Cincinnati side is the one that concerns me, and that's the one we start with in this matchup on the road at Arrowhead or whatever the hell they're calling it now. But the Cincinnati Bengals, like, are you going to show up? Is it going to look good this week for Cincinnati? That's what fantasy GMs want to know.
Yeah, this is worrisome because Joe Burrow and there's picking up the water bottle and he's explaining it all, but it's not ordinary run-of-the-mill wrist surgery that he's coming back from, and it looked bad. We talked a lot about how bad it looked for Kirk Cousins, but it looked bad for Joe Burrow last week too. Some of it is, again, in Cousins' case, it was the game plan seemed to compensate or what he couldn't do or anticipate what he couldn't do. Well, Cincinnati's game plan with Dan Pitcher didn't compensate, didn't help him out at all. Kansas City's defense is going to be rough here. So Joe Burrow, not an automatic start. Jamar Chase should be sharper this week. He's in lineups. Zach Moss, maybe. I mean, certainly if they're playing from behind, he's the 2-minute drill guy. He's the passing down guy with, I think, better pass blocking chops. He's the goal line guy. But still, he's a flex play because this isn't an offense we're excited about. Andre Yoshevus, Mike Gesicki. These guys didn't exactly give a shot in the arm to a pass offense that looks like it's going to be without T. Higgins again. And yeah, Cincinnati, see, in the NFL, I know it's 17 games. I know it's 7 playoff teams. But in the NFL, historically, 0-2 is never where you want to be. You never want to be 0-2. And I don't see how the Bengals are anything but 0-2 after this one.
Right, because Kansas City's just, they've got blood in the water. They've got everything. They can run on you. They can throw on you. Whatever. And Xavier Worthy. Thanks, Buffalo. We're giving them that. Yeah, start your Chiefs, Bloom.
Yeah, I think so. We're not going to see Hollywood Brown back, but what Worthy's going to be in your lineup? Obviously, Roshy Rice, the Cooper Kupp in Kansas City, as far as the easy stuff, the short stuff, and of course Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe the fears were a little overblown with Carson Steele, with Samaje Perine, or maybe we see more Perine now that he's got a 10-day break to get acclimated to the offense. Still, you're going to play Pacheco probably as a running back too, or super flex. But someone came to me to reference something earlier in the show and said, I'm going to play Dobbins over Pacheco. It's like, that's not crazy. That could work out for you because Pacheco wasn't that efficient against Baltimore, and we'll see how this backfield split looks now that Perine is more acclimated. And then Travis Kelce, again, it's tight end. See, here's a common refrain at tight end this week. Well, you kind of have to play who you drafted. Unless you're going to go get, I don't know, Jordan Akins from the waiver wire. Maybe Isaiah Likely was out there. Probably not. Maybe Colby Parkinson. So if someone says, I'm going to start Colby Parkinson over Travis Kelce, I mean, he could help pick up some of the slack for Puka Nacua being out, but that's a little bit crazy. So you're probably playing Travis Kelce. But if Travis Kelce doesn't do much this week, yeah, you're starting to get worried.
Yeah, you're starting to wonder. You're starting to wonder in Chicago, what could it be? Chicago and Houston is up next. And what can it be with Caleb? Well, it can be better than it was last week, and you won. So you still didn't have a great day from your rookie quarterback, but you won. This time, you better have a better day because Houston's legit. And Chicago, well, they're legit with all those weapons, but it comes back to the distributor and young Caleb Williams and what to expect from the Bears offense this week.
Yeah, Caleb, the offensive line, they need to get it together in this one, or it could be embarrassing, and you don't have Will Levis on the other side to give the game away. DeAndre Swift, probably not going to play him, but again, you're looking for more push from the offensive line, maybe some use in the passing game. Rome Odunze's banged up. Keenan Allen's banged up. You're going to play DJ Moore no matter what. If Keenan Allen rallies and Odunze doesn't, Keenan Allen was there for him to have a decent game last week, so we'll see. This is a Bears team that escaped Houdini style with a win, but now they are facing a team, Cease. Isn't it awesome? A primetime national game, maybe a statement game for the Texans to say, yeah, this is what a team in a Super Bowl window looks like.
Yeah, this is what it looks like. Now move forward and continue to be sharp. Just don't wear Joe Mixon down. It's week 2. And that's what we're talking about. Like, don't wear Joe Mixon down, please. Like, it looks awesome. Can you do that for 17 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
No.
And I suppose it's a divisional game. It's a road game. If you're going to use them up in a game, yes. But in this game, if they get a lead, you want to see some more Dameon Pierce in this one. Maybe Cam Akers will be up. He was inactive last week. But Joe Mixon does have a lot of mileage. So if you're putting this much mileage on him early in the season, well, we want to know who's up next. And in this case, again, it is Dameon Pierce. I think they got British Brooks, too, who they like. Chicago defense wasn't dominant, but they're not a pushover. CJ Stroud didn't get great protection, so we'll see. Darrell Taylor in his debut with the Bears made a splash in the pass rush. I think Nico Collins is showing us there's a lot of landmines in the second round at wide receiver, right? Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London. Not Nico Collins. They think, who? That's the guy C.J. Stroud really trusts in a key situation. Stephon Diggs, he trusts him in those short range passes at the goal line. And then Tank Dell, and you still have the upside. I think we need maybe a little more protection before we see those big plays for Tank Dell. But even though the snap count isn't as high as it is for some other receivers that went well after him in fantasy drafts, the targets are there, the dangerous play as far as his game after the catch is there. Dalton Schultz is a little banged up, so deep dynasty TIM premium leagues, there's still Brevin Jordan. They like Brevin Jordan. He's only 25. I'm just excited for CJ Stroud to get a primetime showcase because he's a primetime player.
Prime time is what you've got. Monday Night Football, Atlanta against Philadelphia. And Atlanta is like, whew, maybe Kirk Cousins will have some time to throw. Maybe that'll work this week against the Eagles. Maybe not. But we're expecting a little bit more from that offense because there were times they could do some stuff against Pittsburgh, but not often. Kirk Cousins should be a little bit more relaxed. So what does that mean for Bijan? Drake London, mainly the one, I'm looking at here being like, can you do something a little more? Kyle Pitts scored last week. Can Fantasy Jams count on that again? It's against the Eagles. It's a little bit of a breather compared to what you face when you face the Steelers.
Yeah, but how much of a breather? Pitts is in. Again, you're playing at tight end you drafted to start, probably. Bijan's in. You hope for a little better performance in terms of the offense. Drake London, I'm not going to talk people out of benching him because I think that Drake London, as the Steelers showed, like just that's the guy you take away. And the other thing is, we saw this and a lot of good film review out there. Is it that Kirk Cousins isn't physically right? And the Falcons made a game plan and changed his mechanics. All this drop back, no, not taking snaps under center, pistol when they were always running the ball, and then shotgun and they were always passing the ball. Predictability is a killer in the NFL. And is it the game plan? Is it Cousins? Is it both? We're going to be watching this really closely on a primetime game. And I want to ask you, as someone who covered Vic Fangio every day for a while, does Fangio strike you as a sweep the leg? Seeing that weakness, seeing how predictable and how much they're telegraphing how they're running this offense. Eagles fantasy defense this week?
He takes a little gold star, a little gold meatball, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's a blankety blanker that way. Sorry, Joe. Like he wants to crush you.
Yeah. Penix watch.
Penix watch 2024. Let's talk Philadelphia side and Jalen Hurts watch. Boy, the tush push doesn't work as good as it used to. Boy, that was nice. Was it Jason Kelly just have the magic sauce?
Right.
I know his shirts don't fit, but like what? Huh? Okay. I guess that's the magic sauce for the tush push, and maybe he should be on staff as a coach,
right?
Just to teach one thing. But at least they have Saquon. They got Saquon.
Yeah.
They got Saquon. Saquon. I love Saquon.
Yeah.
Love him in Philadelphia, man. Love Howie Roseman. Love Saquon.
And we might be saying after this week, Saquon should have been the first running back drafted, or if we drafted today, because as you said, with a tush push, I think they have to be a yard behind Hurts now. That's the small adjustment, but you have Barkley. So I don't think you need to use Hurts that way anymore. Hurts passing better, and Hurts' value is down if he's not going to get the tush push touchdowns, but it can be compensated a little bit with the Kellen Moore offense. It's very straightforward here. You have A.J. Brown with his ability to get open downfield. He may be locked up with A.J. Terrell, but you're still not going to bench A.J. Brown. A.J. on A.J. crime. Devontae Smith in that motion receiver role, the one that Keenan Allen turned into so many catches under Kellen Moore last year. You love Devontae Smith this week. And, of course, Dallas Goedert, again, drafted him to start. He wasn't disappointing because he was like the 10th or 11th or 12th tight end drafted. That's about where he was. And the Eagles, they escaped with a win in week 1, looking for a more resounding win in the Birds of Prey showdown.
Birds of Prey. And, Birds of Prey still circling because you need some extra punch when you go over your fantasy team this week. And that's why we're here with our ever popular What the Heck flexes in week 2. Some of my What the Heck flexes at the running back position. And you mentioned Alexander Madison. Perfect what the heck flex. I've got Samaje Perine as a what the heck flex. Tank Bigsby probably more than a what the heck flex, but throw him in your lineup, see what good things can be there. It's not all about Ramondre Stevenson in New England. Well, maybe it is. But Antonio Gibson is what the heck flex levels there too. At the wide receiver position we go, and some what the heck flexes for me this week include the likes of, well, Greg Dortch, of course, Jackson Smith and Jigba. We'll see if he can do more there. Khalil Shakir, I love him. Jerry Jeudy, less love, but respect. We'll see if Jeudy can come through as a what the heck flex. Let's throw in some Darnell Mooney love there as well as what the heck flex. AD Mitchell, my final what the heck flex. Had to get that one in. Bloom, let's talk your week 2 what the heck flexes.
Yeah, and it's early, so you're maybe not digging into this group as much. I mentioned J.K. Dobbins. If you're watching this, listening to this on Thursday, at least Jeff Wilson is a what the heck flex, and if Devin Achane is out, sounds like he true game time decision there. Positive, optimistic game time decision. Then it would be Jalen Wright, Tank Bigsby, Tajay Spears. Tennessee should barely throw the ball. Devin Singletary, don't give up on him yet. Bucky Irving. Again, you see the theme here with Bigsby, Irving, these number 2 running backs, getting a chance to do more, prove they deserve to turn these into committees. Wide receiver mentioned Tyler Lockett. Any number of LA Rams receivers. Robinson would be my first. Jalen Naylor in a matchup against San Francisco, probably is the number 2 receiver. Luke McCaffrey. Yeah. Luke McCaffrey, go check your waiver wire right now to see if anyone picked him up, okay? Jalen McMillan in what could be a potential shootout. Great matchup. That's your must-see matchup of the week, by the way. Tampa Bay and Detroit. And Juwan Jennings is Brandon Ayuk admitting he wasn't quite all the way back. And then when a player actually admits that, that's something to take note of, as Juwan Jennings led the team in receiving yards. And again, San Francisco, Minnesota could be a high-scoring game. Hopefully you have the high score in your fantasy game this week. And it's great, Cecil. And I just want to say again, thank you, everybody. I'm working on a lot of stuff, aren't we all? Receiving love, and I've received so much love from so many people, and it's great to be here. Becoming way too up on tropical weather systems and how they form and how they dissipate, but we were lucky overall in New Orleans. Overall in Southeast Louisiana, the storm wasn't as bad as predicted. There's still a lot of people that have some bad situations, especially to the west of us. So a lot of power outages, a lot of flooding in New Orleans. And it's weird to hope for nothing bad to happen in your area, because that means something bad might be happening somewhere else. But thank you, everybody. And it helped me feel less anxious as the uncertainty was bearing down on us. And I think this community, again, you all think of us as serving you, but you're serving us too.
Yeah, you make our day brighter. So thank you very much for doing that. And help us out on YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And subscribe to footballguys.com if you want to support the show. That's how you support us. We've been doing this for 19 years. Hell, let's go 19 more. Can you imagine how grumpy I'll be in 19 years?
It's going to get downloaded straight into your brain in 19 years. You're just going to wake up and we're going to be in your head, where you're just going to be like, man, hi, good morning.
Actually, do you know what my editor at Smoking Gun Comics, do you know what my editor believes will happen? That you'll set up virtual rooms where you can like sit in a room, like almost a theater, like an audience, and virtually, like with goggles, like see us. So the key is you'll be, I don't know where you'll be, Bloom, but I'll be in Mexico. So if the law's looking for me, just tell them to go down south. That's where I'll be. Hopefully not that too long. But either way, in 19 years, I won't be using makeup in 19 years. I'll just have gray hair, baby.
Am I going to have to shower if we're in these virtual rooms?
I don't think they can smell us.
Okay,
unless
good.
You want like
no smell-o-vision
technology, right?
Right, smell-o-vision.
What an amazing smell you've discovered. Of course, 2 old hippies are going to have that kind of smell. All right. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Watch these videos. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Watch more. Watch all content. YouTube. Thanks. Stay tuned and stay frosty.